This is Sparta!
Apparently I'm still learning here. I just went into some big dissertation talking about this motor, this center diff, spur gear, and this idler gear. So maybe I can give you the abridged version. Basically, what happened is we had the bearings blow out in this thing, the gasket blow out on this thing, and we may have caught the pinion side motor bearing. We may have caught it in time. It could be that there's just debris in there, but with the way it sounds and the way it feels, the pinion side, this is the pinion side, this is the end bell. The pinion side motor bearing most likely has lost all of its grease, whether if it's over temp or if it's a lack of a quality bearing. Could be a combination of a whole bunch of stuff. But what we're going to do, what I'm going to try to do is service this motor before the bearings completely turn to junk. So there's some type of an adhesive or something that's stopping this heatsink from rotating. Not sure what it is, but this heatsink is on this motor pretty good. So we're going to take off the pinion. We're going to take off the motor mount. We're going to heat up the 3 screws that are on the end bell here where the wires come through. We're going to pop that out, and we're going to pull out the rotor. If you want to see if it's possible to potentially service one of these motors, stay tuned for this episode of RC Guy Garage, diving into the Red Cat Valkyrie TR/MT. Oh, we're also not done, though, because I have a dilemma. So this is a 1950 kV, 3670 size motor, right? The WAV racing vehicle, and that's where you got to kind of like, what's better? Is one motor better than the other? Granted, while I haven't taken out that motor, there is the possibility that the other motor is still alive, or maybe it's in the same condition. However, the other motor is a faster motor, slightly less torque. It's a 2200 kV motor. So that means we could also play a little bit more with pinion size, meaning bringing it down. Right now, we're running a 14-tooth Hobao pinion. This gear, because of its misalignment, did get shark finned and kind of kicked. Like the way the gear, because the gear was positioned at a kick, the gear was allowed to kind of more roll off, kind of almost like a, kind of almost turned itself into a spiral gear. Kinda. Not really. The condition of this spur gear, or center diff gear, the condition of this spur gear, I'm really surprised, because looking at this, and especially seeing it under this device right here, which you can focus in pretty good, the gear is very flat and not misshapen. Now, I'm not looking at it under a microscope. I can definitely see that this gear has been attacked. I also did salvage or save this other bearing. This bearing lost both of its, well, one of its shields and all of its grease, but I was able to clean it, repack it, and throw the seals back on. So it might be a bearing to test later. Maybe I'll put it like a little baggie or something. The test bearing. Yeah, if you want to see if it's possible to service this before it's junk, stay tuned for this episode with RC Guy Garage. Working on the Valkyrie, Red Cat. Working on the Red Cat Valkyrie TR/MT. Oh, that dilemma part is the fact that I got to do so much to pull that other motor out. You know what it's like to get to this thing. The other rig is a parts rig, but I think what I need to do is grab those bins that are right there? I think I need to get another bin so I could take all of the parts that I'm taking off of that thing and just stuff it in the parts bin. Because right now, it is a parts vehicle. I no longer need that vehicle as a buggy. I'm gravitating away from that. I'm not that kind of, I guess, buggy style person. What I've created with this thing, the Red Cat, that's, I think, the kind of person I am. I enjoy that type of vehicle ability. Now, that's also not saying the Hobao VS2s that I have, man, and the Losi DB Pro. You know what I'm saying? Like, certain vehicles need to be in certain categories, and the WAV, I'm kind of booting that thing out. I'm going to turn the other one into a 9mm longer Red Cat with the use of suspension, the Blitzkrieg. That one's going to be converted, so. But, yeah, that dilemma is I could literally just pop that motor out. It's just going to create twice the mess. So I might as well try and service this. So with all that talk, let's just break into this thing and hopefully be able to disassemble this motor on this episode here of RC Guy Garage. Has anybody asked Gemini who I am? Dude, I really appreciated the description of what they gave me. I thought it was fairly accurate. Except for the reviews. I really don't do reviews. Alright, so this thing has already been serviced. We created a new gasket with the use of blue painter's tape because I ain't got time for that. And I went onto the Red Cat website and could not find gaskets, and I'm not going to buy a whole unit just to buy a gasket. So, yeah. So right over here, this is the residual that's left over. So it's got a cage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bearings, 2 seals, and I end up keeping the other things there. I keep the inner and outer races as standoffs for other things. So this stuff right here, I can go ahead and get rid of. To make things easier for yourself, you probably should have one of these butane things. If this is the route you want to go, this is definitely the slow way, but this is also investigating because seeing that there's a hole exposed right here, I don't know if you can see that. See how there's a hole at the top of the motor? Right there. That's probably where all the debris is getting in, as well as the hole that's down here. So, I don't know, man. I don't think it needs these holes to be active. I don't think it's really providing dissipation. There's really no good way to keep the heat out of this other than what's already here. The heat sink, not overworking it, and maybe doing a double fan. That's possibly the next route that I'm going to go, provided that everything is okay with this motor. So I'm going to heat up these 2 screws right here. I'm also going to heat up the pinion screw because I did use a Loctite. So a little fire on there. That should be enough. The Hobao Pinion is a 2.0 grub screw. Ooh, boy, that was good and tight. That was good and tight. I'm glad for that. So, ooh, wow. Yeah, dude, wow. That's really on there. I definitely used plenty of Loctite, I guess, on this thing. Holy smokes, dude. Okay, got that off. Now I'm just going to light these up real quick. Yeah, what's the real quick crap I keep saying? It's going to take a little bit because this is going through aluminum. So, going to heat them up individually. You might need to wear a glove on the opposite hand. It can help. So the motor mount screws are the 3.0s. So, oh, look at, okay, well, that's cool. I was just able to rotate the heatsink. So that's going to make things interesting. Here we go. You hear all the grit. So lots of grit. Fine diamond dust got in there. I'm going to go ahead and heat that one as well. I think I'm seeing diamond dust in that hole. That top hole, I'm seeing something nasty in there. Get that in there. And that relieved it. Nice. Nice and easy getting that out of there. Okay. So, what I want to do now, I just want to bang out the motor a little bit. I want to tap it out a little bit. You know what? Let's see if I can get this heatsink off of here. Yeah, there we go. So, oh, dude, they used a thermal paste. See that? That's a thermal paste. That's kind of cool. So they used a thermal paste in this, and I don't have any. Maybe I should get some. We're going to go ahead and go without the thermal paste. We're going to leave that little dab that's in there. And it was right on, look at that, it was right on the Red Cat lettering. So this would probably be a good time to use a blower, but like I was saying, I want to see what kind of debris is in this motor. So let's get a kind of a clear little shot here. I'm going to zoom in, get you down there. You can see there's already a little bit of debris here, but let's put this upside down and give the motor a couple love taps. Yeah, look at all the crap that's in there. Wow. You want to be careful because you don't want to destroy the can. I just wanted to see what kind of debris I could potentially get out of there. Could definitely listen to that. Poor thing is screaming, dude. Good thing we're doing this now. All right. So that's the... Dude, that looks like bearing. That looks like powdered bearing. All right. There is a way to be able to take this piece off. At least yeah, because usually these are screwed on, but they're probably Loctited in. So I'm going to unscrew that screw, and that screw, and I'm going to use heat. And you've got to use a good Phillips driver to get good engagement on those screws, because these screws are fairly weak. Let's zoom in here. I want to show you. You want to be able to get a driver that gets a very positive lock. And that is a little bit loose of a lock. So, see if this bit right here will be able to get a more positive lock. So what it is these are those Jap screws. Or, not Jap. They're the Japanese screws there. The JIS or something like that. At least I think that's what it is. So you got to make sure that when you get in there, you want to make sure you have the most positive lock you can get. So I'm going to fire this one up. Shouldn't require a huge amount, but enough to hopefully... Yeah, look at that. Nice. Beautiful. Broke that free. Now, I'm just going to test this one just to see. Yeah, don't do it without the fire. Just safer off. You're just better off. Yeah, look at that, see? Zero effort needed. So, good idea to have one of these blow torches and use fire to get these things off. That one might have been a little bit too much, but look at that. Nice. Zero effort. All right. So now taking off the cover is just like getting either your fingernail under there. Sometimes you can take an awl and kind of go in there and push up. Looks like that's not working. See, I don't want to use the motor wires. If I tap this, it might be able to push that out. This is not the recommended way, but this should be able to push that out. There we go. So there you go. We're able to get that off. Okay. So, looking at shielded bearing right there. There's definitely, yeah, definitely diamond dust is in here. So, dang. I want to clean that bearing here. See the diamond dust in there? That is all diamond dust in there. Whether if it's from my backyard or literally from diamond dust, that is the stuff that gets in there that can wreak havoc on these things. So let's just see if any stuff comes out of here. I'm going to just give this a couple taps. Okay, nothing. I want to pull the rotor out, which is going to be maybe slightly difficult. Keep in mind there is a bushing that is in between the bearing and that rotor shaft. So there is a, looks like it's like a bronze or brass or whatever bushing. So we'll put that over there. I'm going to use my palm, push this out, and then grab the rotor and try to pull it out. Yeah, look at that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, whoops. So there's another one on this side and also a tension shim. See that right there? What it does is it applies a little bit of tension. So kind of keeps things in place and riding on the bearing and away from the end bell or the, yeah, no, not the end bell, pinion side. So we'll keep those together over there. Keep that one on that side. And I just want to clean this up. That right there, I believe, is for balance. Yep. And that right there is also for balance, or maybe it's some kind of glue. So I'm going to just clean this up with one of those hide wipes. And then gotta somehow be able to take that bearing out. Normally, if you catch it in time, you can just get something that can catch, and this is kind of a crappy way to do it, but you can get something that can catch that bearing edge and you can tap it down. So we definitely need to go after that bearing because this one felt fine. This one I feel is the problem. So looking down inside, it looks like we possibly caught it in time, I believe. See if I can enable a flash. So we got flash enabled. See if we can look in there. And looks like that's the best we're going to do. I'm trying to get you a picture way down there. There you go. Looks like we got it in time. There's still a lot of garbage in there that we got to clean out. When tapping the bearing out, because you're doing it essentially in a bad way, because what you're doing is you're relying on the bearings, the cage, and everything up against the race to kind of keep things together. You could heat this up, which I'm probably going to attempt, but you want to take something that is basically the size of the hole that you're working with and something that's not going to catch on the outside edge. So you don't want anything to hit here. You just want to grab that inner race. I'm going to give it just a couple of little taps just to see if it'll move. And that should have moved and it didn't. So what that means is I'm going to fire this up. Now I'm going to try to stay away from the actual bearing itself. So I'm going in a circular pattern. Oh. Going in a circular pattern in between that hole and the other holes for the mounting of that motor plate or motor mount. Technically it's a motor plate, I guess. So that should be enough. Go ahead and give it a couple taps. And that was definitely enough because look at that. So you just want to keep in mind this is probably going to be hot. So is that bearing. But like I said, from what I think I'm seeing, that thing is hot. We definitely caught this in time, and it may have been just grit inside causing a problem. The bearing itself, I'm just going to clean, and I'm going to have to use some type of an oil to get in there and lubricate that bearing. Preferably the stuff that will work is this Moose Lick industrial grade ultra thin oil with PTFE, engineered for RC bearings, long lasting lubrication, wide temperature. This is what we're going to use because this should penetrate and do what we need done. Why is the focus there? Now you can read it. So this is the stuff we're going to use to coat that bearing, as well as the other bearing that is right here after I blow this thing out. Get all the crap out of it. Cleaned it out. Now I'm just going to spray some of this stuff in there. Fill it up just like that and let it sit. Clean up this bearing and do the same exact thing now that it's cooler. All right, so I'm just going to measure this bearing. So this bearing uses an outer width of 13, inner width or diameter by 5. So 13 by 5. I just put it in the crap. 13 by 5 by 4. So that's the bearing that you need. 13 outer, 5 inner, obviously because it's a 5mm shaft, and then the width of the bearing is a 4. So I did put it in the juice. So this is just a lacquer thinner. I put this bearing in the juice, swirled it around, and I'm actually pretty happy with that. Got to make sure that you get all of the lacquer thinner out of there. That means that you do have to have some type of a blower or something, or you'll have to wait. You could even use fire and catch this thing on fire and get rid of all the solvent. So those are your options. So right now what I can do is put this in here, give it a little bit of fire to make sure that all of the solvents are going out of it. Just like that. Plus it'll warm it up slightly so it can accept the lubrication that we're going to put on this thing. So yeah, there you go, guy. Ooh, it's hot. Just remember, with open flame stuff, don't have like solvents and stuff around an open flame.
We must consult the oracle. Trust the gods. Your blasphemies have cost us quite enough.
All right, so this is the route that I went. I do have to let this kind of sit and cook in the spoon. Don't get any wise guy ideas. We are cooking in a spoon. I do just need the lubrication to get completely inside this because it is a sealed, shielded type of bearing. So, yeah. This is not a rubber sealed. This is a metal shielded bearing. So, there you go. That's what that looks like, cooking it in the spoon. So, keep in mind, this is a very strong magnet in this rotor. So, once you clean it, don't put it near anything metal or near any of the potential metal debris, because all your work that you just did will be for nothing. So this is what the rotor looks like now. Was able to get a bunch of black crap off of this. We're going to kind of clean up this area so that we can put this back together. I do have to clean the inside of the can, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spray some something in there. I'm probably going to use one of these hide wipes. So just get a hide wipe and jam it in there and clean up inside of there. Use a blower, get some of the crap out of there, maybe even tap it first just to see if there's any more debris in there, loose debris. Then just get in there and clean out this pocket inside this motor. So everything is looking, everything's looking pretty good. I'm happy. I'm happy with what I'm seeing in this motor, especially this should look a lot better once I'm done. All right, I was able to get a bunch of crap out of there using this hide wipe, but I'm not satisfied, I think, with the cleanliness. So I can't get my sausage fingers in there. But I blew it out. I was able to still get more crap out of there. I think what's happening is that there's a lot of stuff that is hanging out at these screw holes. I think that's part of the problem. So tapping it out this way, there's still debris. There's still debris. That's where these screw holes are. So that's kind of unfortunate. So I'm thinking I'm going to dunk tank it a little bit. Not all the way through, but just to hopefully get... See what I'm saying? Hopefully some of that crap out of there without hurting anything. Because I'm not trying to introduce more crap in there. I just want what's in there out. It's a pain, but it might be worth doing all of this work.
Are you sure about that?
I do think we're looking a lot better. Now that Red Cat name is really shining right there. Got that nice and clean. Not that that matters, but yeah. Took the blower, put the blower in there, got all the lacquer thinner out of there. Could take some fire and just make sure that it's all gone, but you know what? I'm going to trust that the blower did its job. I feel happier with how I'm seeing these thread holes look now. So, but these thread holes do come up against the inner winding, or should I say the outer winding.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, there is that wonderment if I'm able to screw that off and see the entire thing, but I'm just going to go with it, man. I think this bearing is all set, ready to go. We're going to install it on the shaft and then let it kind of dive into the winding, into the motor case. Remember, like I said, put this rotor somewhere where nothing is going to touch it. So we will put on that, whatever it is. It's like a spring. See how it's like a spring? So I'm going to put on that bushing, that spring. We're going to put on the bearing. And what I'm hoping, I'm going to go ahead and put all this on there and then let this guide its way in, hopefully, very carefully, like that. To make sure it's seated, I could just give it a couple little love taps on the shaft.
He said shaft.
And that will make sure that that is seated all the way. Visually looking at it, I just want to make sure. It looks like I do need to give it a couple of extra taps. There we go. There, that's much better. Now I can see, here, check this out. Now you can see that that bearing is seated all the way. Now we'll take that bushing, put that bushing on that end, take the end bell where the wires are, aligning the shaft, and that, making sure, let's give it a push down. Look at that. That is aligned. I am going to put just the slightest amount of thread lock on. Again, just a very small amount. I'm going to tap this down just to make sure we're all the way. Give this a feel. And that is how it should sound. So, it's a lot cleaner sounding than it was before. So hopefully this will last a little bit longer. Realistically, though, that bearing, both of those bearings, well, at least this bearing should be replaced, but probably should have replaced both of those bearings. But they are clean, and they are re-lubricated, and that definitely does feel better. I'd recommend replacing the bearings instead of going the route that I did. Just replace the bearings. I gave you what the size was. All right, so when torquing these down, don't use an excessive amount of force. That's what the Loctite is for. What I ended up doing was putting a dab on each of the holes and then installing the screws, and that seemed to work. If you over tighten these, because they're so small, everything's going into aluminum, you're going to end up with problems. So just tighten it down to where it just kind of stops and give it just the lightest little tweak, and you'll probably be happy, and then just clean up when you're done.
I hadn't really thought about it. Now that you ask.
All right. I'm going to put the heat sink on. I'm trying to remember which way this went. Look at that. What the hell is that right there? Why is that edge looking like that? Are these pins defective? Like OEM defective?